Ethan Cole's mornings were always the same, an exhausted shuffle of preparing breakfast, packing his daughter Emily's school bag, and making sure the little girl didn't forget her lunch before they rushed out the door. Life as a single father had hardened him, but it had also given him purpose, though the bills piling on the kitchen counter were a constant reminder of how fragile his world was. After dropping Emily at school that morning, Ethan decided to indulge in something he rarely allowed himself, a quiet coffee break. He pushed open the door of a downtown cafe, the warmth of roasted beans and chatter welcoming him in from the crisp autumn air. With his worn jacket and tired eyes, he looked out of place among the sharply dressed professionals scrolling through phones and typing on sleek laptops, but he didn't care, he only wanted 5 minutes of peace. He ordered the cheapest coffee, took a seat by the window, and let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. But then, as he glanced across the cafe, his world shifted. A laugh, familiar, musical, unforgettable, drifted over the hum of the shop, tugging him out of his haze. He turned, and his heart stilled. Olivia Hart. His first love. The girl he once dreamed of marrying, the one who had been his everything during their teenage years before life had ripped them apart. She was sitting just a few tables away, her presence radiant, her hair cascading in soft waves, her posture elegant yet relaxed. Ethan blinked, convinced exhaustion was playing tricks on him, but then her eyes met his, and the years between them vanished in an instant. "Ethan," she breathed, her voice carrying across the cafe. His name on her lips made him stand awkwardly, nearly spilling his coffee as he stammered, "Olivia. I can't believe it's you." She rose with a graceful smile that warmed the chill he'd carried inside for years, and before he knew it, they were standing face to face. She hugged him tightly, the same warmth, the same scent, the same familiarity, as though time had folded back on itself. When she pulled away, her eyes searched his face with tender recognition. "It's been so long," she whispered, her smile softening. "How are you?" Ethan forced a practiced smile, not wanting her to see the struggles etched into the lines of his face. "I'm managing. Just working, raising my little girl." "And you?" She hesitated for the briefest moment, then replied lightly, "Oh, I've been busy with work, a lot of traveling." She didn't tell him she was now one of the wealthiest women in the city, her name tied to an empire that made headlines. Right now, she didn't want to be Olivia Hart, billionaire. She just wanted to be Olivia, the girl who used to sit with Ethan on the hood of his old truck, watching the stars and whispering dreams. They sat down together, laughter bubbling up between them as though no years had passed. Ethan felt his guard lowering, the heaviness inside him easing with every word she spoke. Olivia, meanwhile, found her heart stirring in ways it hadn't in years, reminded of a love that had once felt like forever. And as they spoke, both unaware of the storm of secrets waiting to surface, one truth quietly settled in Olivia's chest: she was falling for him all over again. The days after their unexpected reunion felt surreal to Ethan, who found himself meeting Olivia more often than he ever thought possible. Sometimes she invited him for coffee again, other times she suggested a walk in the park, and once, to his surprise, she insisted on visiting his small workshop where he fixed broken furniture to earn extra money. He worried she would see the peeling paint, the scattered tools, and the second-hand equipment as embarrassing, but Olivia looked around with genuine admiration, running her fingers across the freshly polished wood and telling him she always knew he was gifted with his hands. Ethan brushed off the compliment, hiding the way her words touched a part of him that had long been silent, but what struck him most was her sincerity. She wasn't pitying him, she truly admired him. When Olivia asked about his daughter, Ethan's eyes lit up in a way she hadn't seen before. He spoke of Emily's love for drawing, her stubborn streak, and her tendency to leave her dolls all over the living room floor. Olivia laughed warmly, and before long, Ethan was introducing the little girl to her at the park after school. Emily, shy at first, quickly warmed to Olivia, especially when Olivia bent down to her level and listened intently to her rambling stories about school friends and imaginary adventures. The sight of Olivia holding Emily's hand as they walked across the grass stirred something in Ethan's chest he couldn't name, something dangerously close to hope. Yet beneath the laughter and ease, Olivia carried a secret she couldn't yet bring herself to reveal, that she was no longer the small-town girl he had once known but a billionaire businesswoman whose life was tangled in meetings, investments, and headlines. She wanted him to see her, not the empire she commanded, because deep down, she feared he would pull away if he discovered the truth, believing they lived in two worlds too far apart to ever bridge. Ethan, meanwhile, noticed little things that unsettled him, the way she always arrived in sleek black cars with tinted windows, the subtle glimmer of her jewelry, the phone that buzzed constantly with calls she quickly silenced. He convinced himself not to read too much into it, choosing instead to savor the rare joy of her presence, though the gnawing thought of his inadequacies crept in late at night when he lay awake listening to the hum of the old fridge in his tiny apartment. One evening, as Olivia watched Ethan and Emily laughing together over ice cream, her heart swelled with both longing and fear. She wanted nothing more than to step fully into their world, to belong, yet she knew the moment her truth surfaced, the fragile bond they were building might shatter. For now, she decided to keep her secret, allowing herself to fall all over again in silence, not realizing that every shared smile, every glance, was pulling Ethan deeper into a story he didn't yet understand. Ethan's fragile bubble of happiness began to crack the evening he accidentally discovered the truth about Olivia. He had taken Emily to a grocery store, carefully calculating every item against the few bills in his wallet, when his eyes fell upon a magazine at the checkout counter, its glossy cover featuring none other than Olivia Hart, smiling in a designer suit beneath the bold headline, "The billionaire behind Hart Enterprises expands global reach." Ethan froze, his heart thundering, the reality crashing in like cold water. The Olivia he had been spending time with, the woman who shared coffee and laughter with him, was not simply his old high school sweetheart, she was one of the most powerful women in the country. He left the store in a haze, barely hearing Emily's chatter, his mind torn between disbelief and anger. That night, he sat in his dim apartment, staring at the article he had torn out, the words echoing louder with every glance: billions, luxury, empire, success. A sharp ache grew in his chest as he replayed every moment with her, now colored by suspicion. Was she only spending time with him out of pity? Did she see him as some nostalgic project, the poor boy from her past who needed saving? When Olivia came by the next day, her smile faltering at the storm brewing in his eyes, Ethan didn't let her speak before confronting her. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, holding up the crumpled magazine. Olivia's breath hitched, her lips parting, but no words came. The betrayal in his voice cut deeper than she expected. "All this time, I thought you were, you. The Olivia I knew. But you're living in a world I can't even touch. And you hid it from me." She tried to explain, her voice trembling, that she wanted him to see her heart before her wealth, that she was terrified of losing him if he knew, but Ethan's pride and insecurities burned too strongly. "I don't need charity, Olivia," he said bitterly, his hands shaking. "I don't want Emily to be some project for your guilt or nostalgia." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes, but Ethan turned away, closing the doors softly yet firmly behind her, leaving her standing in the cold with her secrets and regrets. That night, Ethan lay awake, the shadows of the room pressing in on him, the echo of Olivia's tears haunting him. Deep down, he knew her love had felt real, her laughter genuine, but the wound of his own failures twisted everything. He couldn't shake the fear that letting her in would only end in heartbreak for both him and Emily. Across town, Olivia sat alone in her lavish penthouse, surrounded by the glittering skyline, yet feeling emptier than ever. For all her wealth, all her success, she realized she would give it all away if only Ethan could see she hadn't fallen for him out of pity, but because she had never truly stopped loving him. The days that followed their painful confrontation were heavy for both Ethan and Olivia, as if the universe itself had turned gray. Ethan buried himself in long hours at his workshop, his hands sanding wood with a ferocity that betrayed his turmoil, while Emily watched him with quiet concern, sensing the absence of Olivia's warmth in their lives. But life has a way of forcing truths to the surface, and Ethan's breaking point came when a storm destroyed part of his workshop roof, leaving water dripping onto his tools and the few finished pieces he had hoped to sell. The sight of his dreams literally rotting under the rain stripped him of the pride he had clung to so tightly. That evening, While he sat on the damp floor with his head in his hands, Emily tugged at his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, why don't you call Miss Olivia? She makes you smile." The innocence of her words cut through the bitterness clouding his heart, and though his pride fought it, Ethan knew he couldn't deny the truth much longer. He missed Olivia desperately, not for what she had or what she could give, but for who she was. At the same time, Olivia, restless in her penthouse, made a decision of her own. Instead of retreating behind her wealth, she showed up at Ethan's workshop in the rain, her coat soaked through, her eyes searching his with raw vulnerability. "I didn't come here to fix this with money," she said firmly when he tried to push her away. "I came because I believe in you, Ethan. I always have. You don't need saving, you just need someone to stand beside you." Her words cracked the wall he had built, and for the first time, he allowed himself to believe that maybe her love wasn't charity but something deeper, something real. They worked side by side that night, clearing debris, covering the roof with tarps, laughing through exhaustion as though repairing not only the workshop but their bond. Weeks later, with Olivia's quiet encouragement, not her fortune, Ethan rebuilt his small business into something stronger, fueled by his own talent and determination. Olivia and Emily grew inseparable, with the little girl often slipping her hand into Olivia's as though it were the most natural thing in the world. One evening, as the three of them shared dinner in their modest apartment, Emily looked up with wide eyes and asked, "Daddy, can Miss Olivia be my mom?" The room fell silent, and tears pricked Ethan's eyes as he glanced at Olivia, who nodded with a trembling smile. In that moment, Ethan realized love wasn't about pride or wealth, but about choosing to stand together through storms and sunlight alike. And as he took Olivia's hand, pulling her close, he knew that he hadn't just found his first love again, he had found his forever.